Hi, everyone. We're just going to wait a few minutes to get started, or a minute or so, as people trickle in. Thank you so much for joining us on this blustery Central Coast day, if you're local. I'm just going to wait till we get to a critical mass. Hey, Crystal. I see Crystal. Couple more minutes. All right, I think we're good to get started and people can join as they do. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Emma Saperstein. I'm the MUOC Gallery Curator at Cuesta College. This event is the second event in our alumni series, which has been a really fun series both to plan and to execute, where we reach out to alumni from the art department at Cuesta and hear what they're up to, how their trajectories have shifted and changed, and they can sort of think back to their days at Cuesta and share what they learned. So we're really excited to have Casey Wieber and Amanda Adam with us here today. Before we get started, I just wanted to introduce Brittany Mojo, who is the ceramics lead at Cuesta and is co-moderating the event with me today. She's also the faculty lead for the art circle. So Brittany, I don't know if you had a few words you wanted to share about that program.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to just say a couple things. I'm trying to put together this art circle. It's kind of like an informal club on campus for students. And I'm gonna just drop a little image, I think, if I can. Oh, I don't know if I can actually. Well, okay, so let me just talk about it for a second. If you're interested in events like this, or just building a community that bridges the art department. So, you know, if you're in a ceramics class and you want to get to know folks in a photography class or vice versa, et cetera, please let me know. We are planning on having kind of weekly hangouts so that people can get to know each other. That include things like the alumni panel, but also visiting artist lectures and film screenings and that sort of thing. If you are interested in even applying for the art show, the Cuesta College Student Art Show, we're doing portfolio review for that. So please email me. I'll put my email in the chat and let me know. Just specifically say that you're interested in the art circle and I'll add you to the list.
And just a point of clarity, because this has come up before, this is only open to current Cuesta students. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Cool.
Thanks for that.
Sure. Cool. Thanks, Brittany. So we always start our events with a land acknowledgement, so I'm going to do that briefly. So the Harold J. MUOC Art Gallery gratefully acknowledges that our gallery rests on traditional lands of the coastal band of the Chumash Nation, including the Obispo, members of the Chumashan language family, and any other native tribes who made their home along the west coast of California. As a step towards acknowledging and honoring the sovereign nation, our organization pledges a commitment to Indigenous rights and cultural equity. And I actually, while I was thinking about doing the land acknowledgement, I found a website for the Chumash tribe, and I thought it was informative and helpful. So if anybody's interested, I'll put that in the chat as well. Panelists and attendees, cool. So the way today's event is going to go is each artist we have with us today, Casey and Amanda, will take over for about 10 minutes. They'll each share their screen, share some images of their work, and just talk about their journey for 10 minutes each. The rest of us, Brittany and I, will disappear while that's happening, and then we'll go through the second artist, and then we'll come back for just an open format Q&A. We're going to try to keep the event to 45 minutes, but if there's tons of questions, and we'll continue on to the full hour. So as you're listening to each artist share about their work, feel free to either use the chat, but preferably the Q&A at the bottom of your screen to put questions in, and we'll filter through those when we get to the end of the session. I think I'm just trying to see if I have any other announcements. Oh, we are recording this conversation. So if you enjoyed it and you want to share it, or if you're faculty or a student and you want to reference back to something that you heard here, we'll be uploading it to the MUOC Gallery YouTube after this conversation. At the end of the session, I'll share links on how to follow the gallery and information about our upcoming events. So I'm very happy to have Casey back with us. He was one of the first students I got to connect with when I started at Cuesta in 2016. He was very active and involved in the Oliver Herring residency we did in 2017. And that's how I got to know him. I'll read his formal bio and then I will turn it over to him. So Casey is an award-winning up-and-coming photographer, filmmaker, and multimedia artist with additional backgrounds in music production and sound for film. From 2007 to 2008, Casey studied audio engineering and graduated from the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences in Tempe, Arizona, and went on to pursue a career in music. In 2012, he discovered a new passion, the camera. In 2018, he graduated from Cuesta with an associate's degree in studio art with an emphasis in photography. And in 2020, he earned his BFA in art and design with a concentration in photography and video production at College San Luis Obispo. He currently resides in Atlanta, Georgia, and works primarily in the field of video production, 3D computer graphics, visual effects, and live stream broadcasting. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Casey and disappear. Thank you so much for being here, Casey.
Thanks, Emma. It's really, really good to be reconnecting with Cuesta. It's a place where I was kind of at a crossroads in life, not sure what I wanted to do, was done working at jobs that I didn't like. So I decided to go back to school at 27, and I kind of rediscovered a lot about myself at Cuesta. So I'm really excited to be back and afforded the opportunity to kind of show where I started and what I'm doing right now. So let me share my screen here. And that is the wrong screen. Can you see the image?
Yeah, I can see the image with the sunset or sunrise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Cool. So I'm kind of a dabbler. I try a lot of different things out. I get bored really easily. So my presentation here is going to show a lot of different types of images that I've done over the last 4 or 5 years. When I started, when I first picked up the camera, I was more interested in landscapes, getting outside in nature and kind of exploring things, using the camera as an excuse to go to places and see things that I never typically did before. So I started with landscape, and that's when I was really just learning how the camera worked and how to use filters and different exposure settings. I only have one image to show because a lot of them aren't really that good, to be honest. But this was one of my favorites, and this one actually won a few little awards. So I'm still to this day, I'm pretty proud of this image. But then I moved on to film photography and black and white and medium format. And I started going on trips to interesting locations around the West Coast. I went out with Richard Facillo, who's the lab tech at Cuesta in the photography department. And just looking for interesting compositions, trying things out, trying more gritty, abandoned kind of locations, trying to find compositions in areas that aren't usually seen as, quote, beautiful settings, because I think you can find interesting and beautiful stories anywhere. And then as I started going through different classes at Cuesta, started learning more lighting techniques and studio techniques, and started messing around with portraiture, taking strobe lights out on location, trying to combine landscape with studio strobe, trying out other types of portraiture like available lighting, not using studio lights, just going out and about in like the downtown areas looking for lights. And then trying to do more environmental portraiture with film and medium format, going back to the whole abandoned settings, film aesthetic, that kind of stuff. And then I'm not really that keen on portraiture so to speak. Like I like it, but I don't like doing it myself. Because I'm kind of awkward at directing people for still images. So then I started moving into, so this was a production by the Cuesta's theater department called Ghost Ship. And I'm really good friends with Brie Valle, the director, and her husband, Philip. And they gave me a few opportunities to photograph shots for their productions. And I'm extremely grateful to them for that, because I learned a lot. And this particular production was really, really cool. It's called Ghost Ship. I don't know if I already said that, but basically I went in and I had them run the show in real time. And I just kind of ran around in between everybody as they were acting, taking these photos. And still, I think that was maybe 2 years ago. I'm not sure exactly, but these are some of my favorite photos I've ever taken. So it's kind of like portraiture, but it's not, because I didn't have control over the situation. And it was cool too, because the lighting was amazing. The show was amazing. I didn't have to like think about any of that, because it was already done for me. So all I had to do was run around and think about composition and capturing cool moments. And to me, it was a really cinematic kind of event. So that's kind of how I was thinking about it while I was shooting these images. And this is one of my favorite shots. Like the level of thought and work that goes into their productions is just amazing to me. There's a beautiful image in every moment. And then this is them at the KCAC-TF with all their awards, well-deserved awards. And my photo there at the Kennedy Center. So I wanted to include that just because I thought it was extremely cool. And then after kind of doing all that kind of work, I started getting more interested in still life and studio and kind of more like controllable settings where I wasn't photographing people, or I wasn't leaving my house. I was kind of more interested in inanimate objects and learning lighting more. And I think every photographer probably goes through a phase where they take photographs of flowers, because flowers they're just amazing to photograph. This is super simple, but one of my favorite photographs I've ever taken. And then going from still life, I started getting into like Photoshop compositing, taking multiple images in the studio and kind of bringing them together in Photoshop. That was another skill set that I wanted to develop. So I have this mask that for some reason I'm enamored with, and I've taken a bunch of photos with it. Like I wanted to do this like kind of sterile project where I was thinking about, what is my identity as an artist? I don't really know that. I'm still kind of like that, where I'm constantly seeking what that is. I'm constantly trying new things and figuring out what it is that I like to do. And this little series is just kind of me working through that, kind of racing against time, trying to figure it out. Kind of me pulling around the weight of not knowing who I am as an artist. And then this was just a project I did at Cal Poly, where we had to recreate a book cover, and I picked a cyberpunk book called Neuromancer. I'm kind of really into cyberpunk stuff and neon, and I just thought this was a fun little composite. And then this is one from a little series I did at Cal Poly about human encroachment on bees and how that affects the environment. And now we're kind of getting into what I do now. I started moving more into video. I had dabbled in video a lot before going to Cuesta, but I didn't know what I was doing. And then I kind of like abandoned it when I started getting into still photography, but something in me kind of always wanted to go back to video and film. So at this point, I started playing around with that more. I took a few classes at Cuesta on screenwriting and cinematic processes. And this was a little mini promotional film that I did of my friend Danny, who has a tattoo shop in San Luis. And I actually submitted this film to the CSU Media Arts Festival and ended up winning first place in the promotional category, which is pretty cool because I wasn't even going to submit anything, but my professor was kind of adamant on just submit something. You never know. And I'm glad I did. And then for another one of her classes, we had to make short films and in teams. And I took on the cinematography and editing role for this kind of psychological thriller film that another student had wrote. And that was fun. Making horror thriller films is fun because you can just go wild with it, and it doesn't have to be too serious. And then kind of going back to, I grew up playing in bands and being heavily involved in music. And so I've done a number of music videos now. And this was one of some really good friends of mine from the Central Coast named Heart to Heart. And this was like my first time doing a lot of crazy things out of my element in video, like green screening and visual effects and driving out on a road, hanging out of the back of a car with the singer driving this car right in my face with my camera on a 360 spinning gimbal and somebody holding me by the pants so I don't fall out. It's like crazy stuff, but it was super fun. Putting two of him in a toy car and comping that into a UFO scene, because why not, playing around with mirror images in one shot, multiple takes comped into one shot. And this video actually just got accepted into the Slow Film Festival's new music video category this year. So I'm really excited. Sorry, that's my timer. I'm going to go slightly over. I'm almost done. But I'm really excited for that. And, we'll see what happens. I don't know what to expect because they've never done a music video category before. And then the project I'm working on right now, I'm starting to get more into 3D design and animations and green screening. So I'm working on a music video right now for this band called Neverland, where I'm kind of putting her into this 3D, vaguely cartoony world. And yeah, that's it. That's where I'm at right now. I'm kind of trying to take everything I've learned over the last 4 years and put it into something that I'm always trying to do, something I've never done before. And that's where I'm at right now in the world of 3D. And so that's it for my presentation.
Okay, I'm going to come back. Casey, it's so good to hear. Let me see. I'm going to unpin you. Remove spotlight. It's so good to hear. I took a bunch of notes of questions I want to ask you, but it's so good to hear about how much you've experimented since you've been at Cuesta. Like, I don't think when you were at Cuesta, when I was there, I don't think you had done much in video at all. So it's amazing to see how over the past, 3 years, you've expanded so much. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
I loved seeing.
Still always learning.
Yeah.
Always learning.
Cool. Well, we'll get back to having a conversation as a group, but I want to introduce our next alum, Amanda Adam. I'm just going to read her bio straight from her website because I think it's so much fun. I actually was going to suggest, Amanda, that you lead a workshop on how to write a fun artist bio because yours is so great. Meet Amanda. She's a full-time creative and business owner, absorbing every drop of funk Los Angeles has to offer. She demonstrates an overwhelming passion for vibrant mixed media collage that seeps into her editorial photography. Amanda depicts aspects of a carefree, youthful attitude and channels it into her craft, developing 120 film in her kitchen and styling from her collection of handcrafted wearable art gives Amanda a one-of-a-kind approach to the photography community. Amanda also co-owns Zigzag Goods along with BFF Piper Cashman. Through youthful motifs such as paint creations, miscellaneous bead arrangements, zigzag stitching, tie-dye, flowers, and swirls, they create pieces that ignite a joyful nostalgia in their customer. Zigzag Goods aims for sustainability in all their pieces so that they can be cherished for a lifetime. We're going to share links of Amanda's work in a little bit after we give her a chance to share about her work. So we'll all disappear.
Thanks for that. And oh, well, the bio was written by Georgia Whaley, a fellow slow friend. So kind of goes hand in hand with my lessons that I'm going to be presenting to you, which is the beauty of meeting people and just putting yourself out there, which is kind of like my main lesson. So here we go. I'll be sharing the screen. This is my first webinar. So if I flub my words, just laugh with me, right? Okay, here we go. Present. And this, there's a lot of points in here, so I'm just going to try to make it fun for you as the viewers. Starting a timer. Thanks for that, Casey. All right, how does it look? Cool. Amanda Adam, photographer, business owner, sustainable earthling, designer, cat enthusiast, and Cuesta College alumni. These are all the things that make me Mandy. Guess what? New girl in town, 2012. It was definitely a shaping time in my life. It was that transition of like youthhood to adulthood and just the endless possibilities that go along with moving to a new town. Cuesta had a lot of things that I needed in my life, like photography, ceramics, art, design, and it was the perfect way to learn how to be an actual artist. And that's kind of how I looked at it, taking all the GE classes, and thought that maybe if I continue on with this and just keep trudging, I'll actually get to learn about art. So yeah, it was also a time to take in inspiration. I kind of go back to the not having a car, which was pretty transformative, like taking the bus everywhere and just looking around at all the people, which at first it just kind of seemed like tedious, but then I realized it was the best way to just gauge like what town I was living in and where I decided to put myself. So here we go. Cuesta College. Yes, I became obsessed with film photography. I can thank Doug Hyland for that. Hanging out with all the photo kids in class really like showed me that I could surround myself with like-minded individuals and be motivated on that plane. Whereas in high school, I was in a small private school and just kind of given friends, which were amazing friends, but they weren't really on my plane, you know? So this was the first time I decided to take advantage of that. And not only the friends, but the resources, like the printers and the photo lab. I seriously maximized every single resource I had at Cuesta because I would spend 6 hours a day in the photo lab, just developing, like being late to my next class, smelling like chemicals and really embracing it and realizing that this was a full-blown passion that I've never, ever felt before in my life. It was crazy. Another thing was the doubling class in life, which I still stand by. And I kind of do this like whether it's through work or whatever, but making sure that when I'm learning in class, translates into what I'm actually working on for personal work or for career growth or whatever it may be. So that was pretty fun to just print as much as I could when Doug wasn't looking, do collages for some paid clients. We'll get to that later. Sorry, Doug, again, that was funny. All right, yes, these are some things I developed in school. I really haven't looked back on this stuff, and to be honest, I don't even like black and white anymore, but it's kind of fun to glimpse into where I spent every single waking moment of my life. I probably didn't have enough friends back then, I think. That's fine. The service industry. Now this is definitely a tactile skill that I stand by, and I wish upon everyone in their lives to just delve into retail and whatever it may be, maybe serving at a restaurant, coffee shop, whatever. It's just very important photography and just for confidence, and it taught me how to take a hold of a room and just like vocalize what I wanted, what I needed, and how everyone could go along with these visions. It really, really helped with photography in that sense. Yeah. Also, it helped yet again, like understand people and all the walks of life that we don't really get to surround ourselves with when you choose your friends. Business baby. How's the screen looking? It's a little crowded. Okay.
You look great.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Business baby. This was a major turning point in my life where I realized art could make me money, and that most people kind of put aside art when they're growing up and listening to their parents. So yeah, this was the most like transformative. I think the portfolio class at Cuesta really helped with kind of honing in with my real life like wants and desires rather than just what I was doing to fulfill my credits at school. Doug helped us make like 3-month to 5-year goals. And it was crazy. I didn't even realize like I wanted to be a business owner. I wanted to make my own money whenever I wanted. I wanted to sleep until noon, whatever it may be. I just wanted to take control of my life. And it was also really hard being in school because I was so defiant and I don't like being told what to do. So this is my path. It's not necessarily yours. It's fine. This is just what I decided to do with my photography, is make it commercial, make it fun. And now we get to the inevitable point in all artists' careers. It's called artist block. Well, here we go. Big fish in a little pond. I loved slow a lot, but I just couldn't help but feel like I had met everyone there was to meet. And I found myself saying all the time, man, this town got too small. What do I do? Maybe you feel it, maybe you don't, but it definitely led to my depression. And it's kind of something weird to say out loud, but yeah, that was something that I had to take a hold of and change. And I decided where to accept. Does that make sense? Where to? Oh, big money moves. This is a transitional slide. I moved a lot as a child and I loved it so much. It was really refreshing because it helped me basically pack up my life and then unpack and just wander outside with yet again this new freshman in college approach, which was learning about a new town, learning about the people in that town, and just putting myself out there in a place that like fuels me and gives me excitement. So I decided to do that, pack up, leave to Portland. Woohoo! Yes, got to do it. Well, here I was again, brand new, no friends, no job. That was fine. I just wanted all the time in the world to work on my art and not have to worry about hanging out with people. Man, that was nice. So here I was. I reversed the cycle. I'm now a little fish in a big pond, Portland pond. So many sights to see. Oh my goodness, what was I gonna do with all of this time? Oh wait, I know. I'm gonna make an entire brand that utilizes my photography and my desire for entrepreneurship and spend as much time as I want being the only model and the only employee and the only boss. I just spent hours, 12 a day, maybe at minimum 12 a day, just like I did back then in the photo lab. And I realized yet again, this is the passion, the thing that my body craves, the magnetism in the world pulling me to something. It felt incredible. I basically made this brand that I posted lookbooks. I posted all my shoots, blah, blah, blah. And I had literally no sales, no followers for who knows how long. It was almost comedic, which I love looking back on now because it took that drive and determination to, hopefully, this is my next slide, but I don't think it is. Yes, and I guess the lack of friends made me realize I should be putting myself out there online because I wanted more clients and I wanted to have that social circle that I left in slow. Yeah, I wanted to put that online and see what happens. the art of standing out. This is a fun slide because I did make a few friends in Portland that really helped shape my art and help me get more confident and be this like wacky wild girl that I was too afraid to be in SLO because of trying to fit in at the young age of 18. I guess that's not very young, but so I decided what other way to elevate my work and my photography than to completely stand out and be a brand human, be like what I want to see in the world, what other people wanted to see, which is color and vibrancy and confidence. One way I did this was to rework clothing that I featured in my shoots because I didn't really have access to a lot of things in Portland. So I decided, well, I'll just look in my closet, rework that denim, paint like little bits here and there and just make it one of a kind, just like what I wanted my work to be. So I just had this idea and I went along with it. Yeah, and I finally felt fulfilled and important and like I was taking charge of my life again. It felt so good. Oh no, this cycle of stagnance again. What do we do? Yeah, I reached a halt in Portland because I felt like I was going out and seeing the same people left and right, and I had the same repetitive clients. It was just, yeah, it felt tiny. I had to move, grow, and expand. Blah, blah, blah. Take you to LA. Oh, I guess I just put in that costume culture. I didn't really mean to put that in, but there kind of is this presence in LA that is over the top. And yes, when I lived in Portland and SLO, we hated LA. I don't know why I would bash on my home so much, but it was just like people are so wrapped up in social media or whatever. But if you use it to your advantage, it could actually just work and make you money. The costume culture I want to touch upon is just like the vibrancy, the wearing the most chaotic garments out on the streets. It's like a zoo of beauty here. So that's why I decided to create Zigzag Goods, contemporary clownwear for the everyday freak. I realized, yeah, I could profit off art. Embarrassing, I guess, but why not maximize my potential in this world? Like it was something I was already good at, already practicing. And yet again, the dream that I wanted was just to be my own boss and wear freaky stuff and be crazy and paint like garments and paint things for other people and help them get out of their shell, which was the most important thing, was like the outreach and kind of projecting what I've learned in this world to other people who might not have that opportunity. So yeah, everything I learned from the past 10 years helped with this because we have the meeting people, we have the service industry, we have all these little confidence boosts here and there, and the socializing and the bad photo shoots or the lame businesses that didn't work out. It all was for a reason. And I would never, ever, ever let anyone give up on their dream because of how important it shaped out to be. And yes, most of all, standing out. I already said that. Okay. We got a couple other things. Being my own brand. Yes, now I couldn't just hide in the shadows of the wardrobe any longer. If I wanted to spread this awareness and make money, actually, because LA is so expensive, I had to be this person, this clown out on the streets. I had to wear it. I had to be it. And it also helped just like, I didn't need a business card. All I needed was someone to compliment me on the boots I painted and to put out my work in that way. And yeah, funny stuff. I'm never in front of the camera, by the way. So hard to find some photos of me. All right, how to stay motivated during COVID. This was the time to create guilt-free and isolation. I had way more time. I'm sure we all felt this, more time. Like, what do we do with it? Let's just hone in on our art and use this time. Spend every last dollar you have on the prints that you need to make and the works, the zine you never made because you had to go to work. Let's do it. It also helped that people were just like drawn towards the colorful like universe that I created with Zigzag and with Piper, that's Piper, by the way. She's the model. She's the model and co-clown. Anyways, yeah, so it was just the perfect way. I kind of honed in on this sad and gloomy time and made it more colorful. And I know I'm way over time, but these are some tips, tricks, and hacks that I really, 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 really stand by, and it's so important. I'll just read them to you. If you have any questions, you can hit me up on Instagram or email me or whatever, and I'll elaborate, because there's so much to say, and this life is so beautiful. Just say yes to everything, do everything that you can, maximize your downtime. We're over it. We don't need to watch Sex and the City again and again and again. We're over it. It's repetitive. Let's make our own everything. Make it radiate. Be yourself. And oh God, there's another one. This is yes, how to stay motivated. Mentors, teachers, Doug Highlands. Get your Doug Highlands. He'll believe in you. He'll recommend you to this amazing program that Cuesta has. And make sure you check in with yourself, which is something I never do. And that's why I'm telling you, because don't burn out. Like, don't hate the town you live in and have to leave and flee, or do it. That's my process. It's fuel for my fire. So declutter, blah, 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 write things down. I've noticed, this is my last point, I swear. I've noticed every single time I make a to-do list, I never even look at it. I just look at it. One time I stumble upon it like 8 months later, and ta-da, I did everything on the list just because I wrote it down and put it out there. So you got this. You got this. And also let me know if you have any questions. Okay, bye. Stop share.
That was awesome. Your energy is craveable.
Thank you so much. I just realized that I've been talking for a minute with on mute, which is, I think, a common problem for many people. But thank you, Amanda. I feel like I love hearing how both of you have approached your practices in really, really different ways, and how you've used your foundation at Cuesta in really, really different ways. But I know Brittany has to hop off in not too long, so I'm going to let her kick us off with questions.
Yeah, so both of you kind of touched on this a little bit, but for students that are here, which we have a lot of students here right now, a lot of my students are here. How did community college shape your current practice? And I would appreciate if you spoke a little bit about specific things of community college that are maybe are different than a traditional 4-year, or if you even have, experience outside of the community college, like maybe a higher, a 4-year institution or something that you went on to, and speak to that maybe a little bit, and maybe how they're different, and how they each provided a space or not for you to grow.
Who's going first?
You can go first.
Take it away.
So when I chose to go to Cuesta, I had already gone to a trade school when I was 18 for audio engineering. And then after that, I went and worked in a recording studio for 2 years, and I was going to be this dreams of being this big shot record producer and all this stuff. And then I realized pretty quickly that I wasn't that into it, like as far as like working at the studio. And I ended up going back and working numerous amounts of jobs. Like I worked at the airport, I worked at Trader Joe's, I worked at Ernie Ball Guitar Factory, but none of these jobs ever like fulfilled me. And I said, okay, well, now I'm 27. I need to figure something out because I'm not having any fun in life. So I need to figure out what it is I want to do. So I went to Cuesta, and I think the good thing about community college is that you're afforded the opportunity to really explore different things. You can easily change your major. I changed mine like 4 times in the span of like 3 weeks because I'm like manic about that. But I took photography 1 because I was just going to do like an art elective, that to fulfill an art elective. I was like, oh, I kind of like photography as a hobby. I'll just take it to fulfill an elective. And I thought I was taking a digital photography class, and it ended up being a black and white film class. And I was like, people still shoot film? Like, what? I didn't know that this is what this class was. And then I got in the dark room and I was like, oh, this is something that I wasn't expecting, and it like hooked me immediately. And I said, okay, I'm doing art. I don't care what people say about you can't make a living in art. I think that's you can make a living doing anything that you want to do. So I switched to art and never looked back. And then Cuesta had so many different things going on that I got involved with. Sometimes I needed a little bit of a push by Doug to get me to do it, like the Oliver Herring thing. But, you know, that was another cool experience, doing that residency with Oliver, because that's a genre that I never expected to be involved with in any way. And it's still outside of my wheelhouse, but I learned so many different ways of thinking and ways of looking at things that I still apply in some ways to what I do now, even though it's so different. And then really quick to just compare that to, then I transferred to Cal Poly, and the university is like, you have to choose your major. That's it. It's more difficult to change your major. Less room for exploring, I guess, but I also transferred. So I was a third year by the time I got to university. So I can't really speak to the first and second year. But I think community college is great for that, for your ability to change your direction if you want to easily.
Yeah, you know, and I think just to kind of bounce off of that a little bit, for the students that are here, you know, I really try to emphasize how important it is to take as many classes and really figure out what it is that you like, because it's really hard to know, I think. Right? I mean, it's hard to know what you don't like and what you do like, or what like specifically speaks to you, or what Amanda talks about with the kind of like the passion, right? Like, where is that and where does that sit? And I think that's a really good point that you make. So thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Amanda, I know you probably have some things to add to that, but I also wanted to direct you. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that, specifically the transition moment between leaving Cuesta, you went to Portland? I see you answered some of the questions in the chat about, you know, building a client base, et cetera, but the transition, you spoke a little bit about mental health, and I'm really curious for our students how you take care of yourself now, how that transition was for you.
Okay, well, the transition itself was really easy. I'm like very quick to adapt to new situations. So luckily in that sense, it was a breeze. But of course, being so isolated in Portland, there was grappling of like loneliness and whatnot. But I think the emotions that reside with me from all that time was just like working on my passion and how like happy and fulfilled it made me. But I'm sure I've felt like the whirlwind of transitional emotions. And yes, not only that, but I didn't have a job or a way to put myself out there physically. It was kind of like my own little quarantine. But to make money, I pretty much, luckily I had connections from SLO still, and connections back from LA Times, and I got to work with them like remotely, and still photograph lookbooks and collections, and turn to social media for like finding new models and people to work with on shoots. And it's kind of an exact representation of this current climate that we're in, is that. So I think the web helped me so much, as cheesy and repetitive as that sounds. It was my easiest way to make friends and to meet models and people who have like-minded interests as me. So from there, I built a little community, in-person community. Obviously, it translated to my best friends being people who were in my photos and whatnot. As far as, yeah, did I answer that?
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I think it's really great too, because what you're speaking to really is the power of networking. I mean, on our planning call, Casey was sharing that most of his clients and most of the work that he's gotten over the years has been word of mouth, and you know how important it is to see every relationship as an opportunity to show what you're made of. And I don't know, Casey, if you have anything to add there, but it seems like both of you have been really intentional about networking what you're up to in the arts, which is, I can speak to that too, how important and useful that is.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is actually building relationships, not just networking for the sake of getting work, like actually getting to know people, building friendships, because nobody wants to work with somebody who they can tell just wants to make money. Like the best jobs that I've gotten so far are my friends now. And ones who weren't were kind of a nightmare to deal with. So build relationships. That's the most important thing.
So I was going to ask just before I go, so those of you really quickly that are in my sculpture class, right after this question, you are free to go hop onto our other Zoom. But Casey, that actually, and Emma, you kind of are talking about this too a little bit. I kind of just wanted you to talk a little bit about, and Amanda, just how important finding your voice is and kind of like your individual aesthetic. Amanda, especially, I mean, your aesthetic is so clearly defined and kind of worked over. And, you know, and I think this also speaks to like clients, right? I mean, or friend groups, right? I mean, we curate all of these aspects of our lives, and our friends are a kind of like a product of who we are as individuals as well, right? So maybe you can just kind of speak to the importance of finding your voice and not backing down from that, maybe, and you know, why potentially that leads to success, or how it's led to your success. Maybe that's a redundant question, but I just thought it was important to kind of reiterate.
You can go first.
Okay, well, let's think here. I guess the Amanda you see today was molded and shaped from years of just doing what I had to do in this world and what I loved so much. And through meeting the models that I would photograph, I learned what confidence really looked like and what being yourself looked like. And I had a few different friends who were like vintage hoarders. And it was the most inspiring thing for me. It taught me that why like wear a basic tank top when I can wear a gown, a vintage dress, you know, like, I mean, I guess it was through meeting the people that I wanted in my photos, who I felt could represent me best through my work.
Love it. Casey?
I think one of the most important things I learned that has helped me, I mean, I'm still figuring out what it is that I do, but I'm getting closer. But I think one of the most important things I learned was not being afraid to just try things. If it even remotely interests you, try it, check it out. If you fail at it, don't be afraid of that, because you have to fail at things to learn and to grow. That's just, like, it's all part of it. And then another important thing is not being afraid of criticism, being open to criticism and feedback. I was really bad at this, and I still sometimes struggle with it, but I'm a lot better now, because without that feedback, you don't know if what you're doing is resonating or not. You could like something, but getting that feedback from the outside world is super critical to forming your voice. It's not their voice, but it's helping you discover your voice. I think that's the most important thing, is being open to the criticism and feedback.
Love it. Well, I know Brittany has to drop, but I have one more. So Brittany, you can leave. Thank you for co-hosting with me. I have one question, and it's a little cheesy, but I'm going to ask it anyway. And that is whether if you could give advice, like one piece of advice to yourself when you were just starting at Cuesta, you know, however many years ago that was, what would be that piece of advice? And you can also think of it like, you know, if you want to speak to current Cuesta students, but really I'm wanting, like, if you could give yourself a piece of advice, what would it be? And I will start with Amanda.
Well, initially I want to say do more, but then I grapple with the whole burnout thing.
Mhm.
So I overextend myself, I guess. Piece of advice. Maybe, I don't know. I'd say make more bodies of work.
Mhm.
Maybe not necessarily photo shoots, maybe more like fine art inspired
Mhm.
collections that that represent my time. So that way it's like more archive what I did with my life instead of like little shoots I wasn't proud of, maybe making it more fine art based.
Mhm. Love it. Yeah, I concur with the make more bodies of work thing. I think that's a great thing. Casey?
I'm thinking, but I mean, a lot of what I already said is advice I'd give myself, but I'm trying to think
Mhm.
of like something else. Uh, I think I would say, um, sorry, this is hard.
So hard. I mean, I was
I,
just thinking of the advice I would give myself, and I don't have anything specific, so no pressure.
yeah. Um, I just think, dude, I just had something and now I lost it. I don't know, just just don't be afraid of failing. Like I said, like that's why you're in school.
Mhm.
And I think part of my problem was like I had already gone to a school and stopped doing that. I spent all that time. I moved to Arizona and went to that school and I wasn't even doing that anymore. So I was kind of defeated already on that. And then I was like, oh man, here we go. I'm going back to school. Like, but try things. Especially like when I did the Oliver Herring residency, like I was not going to do that. And then Doug pushed me to do it. And I said, but I don't see what I can get out of that. But man, I was wrong. Like okay, there it is. Go out of your comfort zone because that's where the real learning takes place, is outside of the comfort zone.
Mhm. I love it. I love
Love
it. Well,
that.
it has been, go ahead, Amanda, sorry.
Oh, I love that.
No, I love it. I think um, there's always new opportunities that you're not, and I'm still learning that myself, and finding ways to push myself.
Yeah. And also, excuse me, also, I did a lot of stuff outside of school too while I was in school. Like I took as many opportunities as I could outside of the classroom, outside of the school setting in general, to kind of go back to what Amanda said earlier about putting in 12-hour days. Like I put in still every day. I'm working like 15 hours a day on what I do. Um, that time you got to put in that time.
Mhm.
You're not going to come out of school being ready to go. Like you have to put in the time while you're there and continue when you're gone.
Yeah, I think too that there's so many resources of support at Cuesta. I'm such a big fan of all the ways that we can support our students' visions and think about new directions we can push them. I mean, the gallery program, all the fine arts faculty and the programming that we do in the art department, but even outside of that, the workshops, student services, there's so many opportunities to really lean into a support system and community that can propel you. So I love hearing you guys both be like, oh, Doug, like Doug really challenged me, or, whatever, as some of your mentors back when you were at Cuesta.
That's another important thing. Find a mentor.
Yeah.
Whether it's a professor or somebody outside of school, somebody who's going to really push you, because at first I did not have that skill set of pushing myself. That's like going back to school, that helped me with that too. I've done a lot of learning on my own, but school really helped me learn self-discipline and just showing up and beginning, because it's, I think we all feel that, where it's hard to just get started on something, especially in art, right? Like you're looking at the thing and you're like, I don't even know where to begin, or I don't even want to touch it. You just show up and begin and go for it. And then before you know it, hours have gone by and you've learned and you've put in the work, and something's being created now. Just showing up.
And one thing that I have learned, I've had maybe 5 art teachers in my life, but they all kind of said the same thing whenever I would turn in, or any classmate alike, whenever we would turn in a project, it would never be done. Like they would send us back to our seats, and Doug especially, we all would like cry, but it would never be done. Miss Bruner in high school would say like, there's negative space. Oh, the canvas has white on it. Go work on that again. And it taught me that you could, and same within career, like you're never going to be satisfied. And if you are, that's not a good sign, because that's the stagnant staleness, you know, just keep going and doing more and more and more and more and more. Keep refining it.
Well, I'm so excited. Oh, go ahead, Casey.
Oh, sorry. Last point. I do think there is a point in time where you also need to learn when to move on too, though. Like put in the time on something, exhaust all your options. But I also struggled with working too long on something and never getting to the next thing, which also offers learning opportunities. If you're spending too much time on one thing, you just learn when to move on when it is done.
Well, I think that you never know when something will circle back up in your life or your career.
Yeah.
You never know when something that you learned in a darkroom class in 1998 will come back to you much later to serve you in the project that you're working on. So I love how both of you have emphasized the importance of always being a learner. And Amanda, you spoke so much about these transition points, going to Portland, realizing when that network and that client base wasn't serving you anymore and pushing yourself to the next opportunity. Casey, that's so evident in the way that your career and practice has gone and the way that you have challenged yourself to move in between mediums, and you're in Atlanta now and all of that. So I've really loved being in conversation with you. I think that Sophie, if you just want to put the links again in the chat so people can follow Amanda and Casey as we wrap up, that would be great. But yeah, thank you so much, both of you, for being in conversation with me. I'm so
thank you.
You again. And
this was
just
great.
A couple of other announcements before we wrap up. So our next alumni panel will be in March. We're doing these every 2 months, so it'll be March 25th. So mark your calendars now. It'll be at noon. And then this Thursday, we have our next laboratory series with performance artist Carlos Martial. So please, I'm working hard on developing questions for that. It'll be an interview style conversation with him about his work and practice. So I encourage you to attend if you can. That'll be at 5 p.m. PST. I believe that there is a link in the chat. Yes, there is. So come to both of those if you can, and follow Amanda and Casey as they progress through their careers. Stay in touch. I'm sure they are open to being in conversation with you if anything comes up after this afternoon's conversation. And I'm sure if you have any video production needs or photo shoot needs, you can reach out to them as well. So thank you all for coming today, and we'll wrap up there. Enjoy your blustery Monday afternoon. Thanks everybody. Take care.